When I first saw footage of Dragon Ball FighterZ, I thought it looked absolutely amazing, but I probably would never play it. Developed by Arc System Works, known for their traditional fighting games such as Guilty Gear, I thought this game was not for me. Focusing more on the competitive fighting scene, I didn't realise that Dragon Ball FighterZ actually has a story mode. This made me way more interested in the game. Released back in 2018, it has taken me 5 years to finally try out Dragon Ball FighterZ. Whenever starting up FighterZ, the game will ask you if you want to play in an offline lobby or online lobby. Since I'm just going to be playing the story mode, I will be in an offline lobby, and not because I don't have any friends. You'll be given a chibi character to walk around the lobby as. You can access all of the game's modes through the lobby. I imagine that it is a lot more fun with other players that you can interact with, but even when it's a barren wasteland that is my loneliness, it is still very charming. If you don't want to run around the lobby to get where you need to go, there is an instant transmission feature that lets you teleport directly to a mode. Starting up the story mode, we can see that there are 3 separate arcs to play through. Because this is a fresh save, we can only play through Super Wario Arc. I keep saying Super Wario. Super Warrior Arc. The story opens with a cutscene depicting an army of Z fighter clones, with both poor complexion and poor posture, destroying a city. A red ribbon scientist lady is then shown summoning Piranga on New Namek, but actually she is in a lab with Android 16, who is not dead in this timeline? Or maybe he is also a clone, but he has good complexion and posture, so maybe not. Then there are some awesome shots of some of the series' most iconic villains, and Android 18. I'm not sure if she counts as a villain anymore. In this game apparently she does. It looks like all of the Z fighters have somehow fallen in battle, or by the looks of Majin Buu, fallen asleep. Since Majin Buu is here and Gohan is an adult, I'm guessing the story mode is set after the conclusion of the Buu saga. Goku wakes up under a gazebo with Bulma looking over him. She explains that Goku just randomly conked out. The game then prompts us with a dialogue option, which I was not expecting from a Dragon Ball game. But this ain't no Mass Effect. The options you pick don't really change anything. It seems that Goku has forgotten who he is. Bulma is worried that he has amnesia, but that isn't what is going on. Somehow Goku's body has been possessed by some sort of spirit. This is the game's way of including the player in the story, without actually having to add a new character. Instead of taking on the role of Goku or any of the other Z fighters, you are actually playing a soul, controlling the fighter's body, kind of like someone playing a video game. How meta. This also helps to explain why Goku starts off not really knowing how to fight, because it's not really him fighting, it's me, who can't fight for shit. Android 16 arrives, and Bulma questions whether this is the original Android 16 or not, considering he was destroyed by Cell. Spoiler alert. He then admits that he is not the same Android 16, and then asks us, the one linked to Goku, to go with him, as there is much to be done. But he's not going to elaborate on this at all. Why communicate effectively when you can fight people instead? He then launches one of his arms at us. Watch out! But we brush it off by turning Super Saiyan, leading into the first fight.
The battle's about to start! Good luck!
This first fight isn't really much of a fight, as the game takes the opportunity to teach the player about the HUD. At the top of the screen is the character's health gauges. When in the story mode or controlling player 1, your health gauge will always be on the left, and you will always start on the left side of the screen. The health gauge shows how much health your character currently has. The gauge depletes a little whenever you are hit by your opponent's attack. If a fighter loses all of their health, they're out of the fight, but this doesn't necessarily mean you lose the fight, but we'll go into that a bit more later. At the bottom of the screen is the ki gauge. The ki gauge shows how much ki your character currently has. Every attack you successfully land on your opponent fills the gauge a bit. Having certain amounts of stored up ki will allow you to unleash powerful ki attacks. Just on a little side note, I don't like having the ki gauge and the health bar so far apart. I like having them right underneath or next to each other, so I can just glance over at the HUD and get all of the information at once. But I will admit that because of the other mechanics that are introduced a bit later on, it makes sense to have the HUD laid out like this, as the way I prefer it would end up being a complete clusterfuck. The timer in the middle of the health bar shows how much time is left in a match. The battle will end when it reaches 0. If time runs out and neither fighter has been defeated, the one with the most health will be deemed the winner, except for in the story mode, as you'll still lose the match, even if you have more health. So no lollygagging, alright? For this first fight, Android 16 is really easy to defeat, as the game has just given you a chance to get a handle on the basic controls. Meanwhile, on the highway, when playing, I actually didn't notice that the game just kind of teleports you from Bulma's garden to the highway. Maybe they planned for Capsule Court to be a stage, but it never ended up happening, or maybe they just didn't care and hoped nobody would notice. I mean, I didn't when I was playing. Android 16 is still being a bit cryptic about what the hell is even going on, but before we can get any useful information out of him, Beerus and Whis show up and scare him off. So at least now I know that the story mode is taking place sometime during Dragon Ball Super. This may seem like it would be obvious considering the character roster, but I'm so used to the games just covering Dragon Ball Z sagas that I was kinda worried that we would just be doing that all over again. I am so glad that this game is doing something new. Beerus senses the other soul inside Goku right away, as he is a god after all. Whis explains that this is Goku physically, but his power is awfully weak.
If I were to put it simply, there is another person in his body.
No way! He's possessed? You hear me in there, you squatter? Get out, now! Goku's got his work cut out. He doesn't need to be playing host to you.
Bulma, please mind your temper. You see, this predicament isn't our poor friend's doing. Ahem. Yoo-hoo, you in there, can you hear me?
Whis then requests the soul wake Goku up and proceeds to communicate with Goku on some sort of spiritual, psychically mind-reading level, filling Goku in on what he missed. Whis ponders whether or not Goku's current condition has something to do with these bothersome waves. What waves is he talking about? Well, not ocean waves, but more like some sort of frequency waves, I'm guessing. And that is a complete guess at this point, because the game doesn't go into detail about these supposed waves at all, not narratively or visually. Characters just start bringing them up out of nowhere. Beerus and Whis refuse to help any further because they are gods and couldn't give less of a shit. This is the problem with having such powerful characters. Either the threat has to be astronomically huge, or you have to figure out a way to keep the powerful characters away from the plot. It is a good thing that Beerus is naturally apathetic, because at least it is in character for him to not give a rat's ass. With the gods refusing to help, Bulma resolves to travel with the possessed Goku to find the source of the waves. FighterZ features a board game mechanic, similar to the one seen in Budokai 2, but it's not really that similar as the board game plays out quite a bit differently, and for the better. It's a lot less tedious than the one in Budokai 2. As you progress through the story mode, you'll be playing along several different boards. Moving to a new space on the board uses up one of your allotted turns, which is indicated at the top left of the screen. If you run out of turns, then it is game over. The purple icon next to a character's portrait indicates that space is where the boss is. To advance the story, you must defeat the boss before running out of turns. On the first board there is only the boss, so we just head straight there. When taking my first move, I was expecting the enemy to also make a move, but the enemies do not move along the board. This is one of the aspects that make this board game mechanic much less annoying. You don't have to wait for each character to individually take their turn, which was one of the most mind-numbing things about Budokai 2's story mode. I know this video is not about Budokai 2, I just wanted to rant for a little bit, okay. When you move onto a space occupied by the enemy, a battle will begin. A Goku clone is the first boss.
Ah, there he is! Just as I thought he would be. I thought I sensed a power similar to mine, and it looks like I was right. Hello, me! What do you think? Looks just like me, huh? Even has my hair. I don't really know what's going on myself, but I think this is what they call a clone. I hear there's a bunch more of these clone guys causing trouble all over the place. That's not good. And it's not just their looks that are the same. They use the same moves as the not-clones, too!
So let me get this straight. There are the clones, and then there are the preconceived identities that came before the clones that are the same, but are in fact not clones.
You phrased that really weird, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
On board the Capsule Corp spaceship, I put spaceship, it's not spaceship, it's a ship, it's an aircraft, okay? If I say spaceship, I don't mean it, I'm sorry. On board the Capsule Corp spaceship, I said spaceship again. On board the Capsule Corp ship, Bulma has found a way to counteract the impact of the waves. She presses a big red button to fix Goku, and she is able to bring him back to consciousness, although the soul is still residing inside of his body. The player's soul and waves is the only way the game explains why Goku doesn't just instantly destroy everyone he fights. It weakens him down and brings him into the same power level range as everyone else. Power creep is one hell of a drug. With Goku still weak, he requires the soul's continued presence in order to unlock his full potential. They sense Krillin's energy nearby and decide to go and save him. A little green man icon next to a character portrait means there is a character in that space that can be rescued. Defeating the enemy on the space will rescue the ally, allowing you to use them in battle.
It's Krillin! We found him!
When Krillin's clone discovers him unconscious, he prepares to finish him off, so we have to fight him. Since the fighting is restricted entirely into the 2D plane, you can only move left and right, using either the D-pad or the analog stick. I usually end up switching between the two, as some actions feel easier to execute using the analog stick, and while others feel better when using the D-pad. You have a quick light attack that can also be used to hit lower by crouching. There is a medium attack that will turn into a leg sweep when crouching, and then there is the heavy attack that can knock your opponent back or into the air. Goku manages to take down the clone, and then Krillin, the not clone, is brought aboard the ship. Once he wakes up, Krillin is informed of what transpired. As Goku's strength wanes, Bulma persuades the soul to transfer to Krillin.
Whoa! So are you, like, out of my body now? There's a stranger inside my body!
So as long as just one warrior uses it at a time, the soul can power both of them in combat. Taking control over a character is called a link. Each character has their own link level. Battles grant experience points which powers up a character and increases their link level. Your link levels determine the abilities of your linked allies too. When a character link level reaches a certain amount, it will trigger a link event. A link event is just a cutscene that takes place inside a character's mind. It provides a bit of insight into the character's thoughts on the situation.
If you're going to use my body, don't bumble around the battlefield like some buffoon!
A benefit to rescuing allies is when adding them to your team, you will get some cool character interactions. There are tons of them, and it all depends on your team composition. There are even special scenes when a character faces off against their clone. All of these little interactions are a real treat for any Dragon Ball fan. Yeah, it is just fan service, and if you don't know the source material, then you won't get a lot of the references, but they are a lot of fun, and give you another reason to mix up your team of fighters. Back on the ship, Krillin is worried about his family and hopes that Android 18 and Marin are safe at Kame House. Goku tells him not to worry since 18 is a powerful fighter, even more so than Krillin. Suddenly, Goku and Krillin sense an energy that appears to be Cell's, although a little weaker. They notice that they are unable to sense Cell's opponent's energy and suspect it's an android. When Goku and Krillin arrive on the islands, they encounter Cell preparing to attack an unconscious Android 18 and a woman in a lab coat pleading with Cell to spare 18.
What have you done to my wife?
Yes, go Krillin, kick his ass! I always really loved the relationship between Krillin and Android 18. Even though Krillin is far weaker than 18, he always steps up to protect his family. Now that is a man you can respect. Goku transforms into a Super Saiyan and directs Krillin to check on 18. The woman asks Krillin if she knows who she is and tells him that 18 has kept her safe from Cell. Angered, Krillin powers up to help Goku defeat Cell.
What is a husband if he can't protect his wife?
Ooh, someone's company.
Damn right! I don't care how strong you are! Touch my wife, you're going down!
And then all tension is lost because this boss fight is also a tutorial. A space with a blue question mark indicates that it hosts a tutorial fight. Many of these can be found in the first arc of the story mode, particularly in the early game. They teach the player the fundamental mechanics within the context of a match. Sort of. The AI opponent in these introductory encounters will operate in a way that allows the player to actually perform the move that the game is attempting to teach. This usually signifies that the AI is doing nothing or is being extremely passive. Now this doesn't really matter if you're actually playing the tutorial in the way the developers intended, but even for first time players such as myself, you'll often find yourself playing the same tutorial more than once and not on purpose. This is related to the way the boards are structured. There are a lot of optional fights and ways to avoid certain fights when moving through the board. Now I really enjoy that the game allows you to pick and choose which fights you want to undertake, but this has the disadvantage of the developers not knowing which fights players will do. So some tutorial spaces will actually have the same tutorial as others, just with different characters. Yes, the game does indicate what spaces have tutorials, but it does not tell you what the tutorial is for until you enter it, meaning you are more than likely to find yourself repeating tutorials. But even when you have no choice but to travel to a tutorial space, you still don't actually have to follow the tutorial prompts. You can just defeat the enemy however you like and move on with your day. However, because of this, the AI in these engagements really fight back, making them a tedious slog to get through. They can even appear on boss spaces, which can completely deflate the boss. The tutorials only appear in the warrior arc, so this is only a problem for this arc in particular. While I really appreciate that they decided to integrate the tutorial into the story mode, as a lot of DBZ games kinda just throw you in the deep end. Another issue I have with the tutorials is because they are taking place within proper matches, sometimes I would keep mucking up the moves and I would end up winning the match without actually finishing the tutorial. Thankfully FighterZ has a dedicated tutorial mode and it is very extensive. There is so much to learn and it is a bit overwhelming if I'm being perfectly honest. Like look at the list, holy moly. I walked into the practice dojo, that's what's called, and I was just like, ooh. But if you're like me and are just interested in playing through the single player content, the tutorial in the story mode gives you all the tools you need to enjoy the game. Cell complains about the waves impeding his true power and uses solar flare to flee just as Krillin was prepared to finish him off. Krillin checks in on 18 now that Cell is gone. The woman with 18 warns that the Red Ribbon Army has returned, and that the army is to blame for the clone's emergence as well as the resurrection of Cell. She tells them that she was a researcher for the army, working on linking technology that weakens a fighter's power, allowing a soul to be implanted inside them. The linking technology had only recently been perfected, and the researcher left when she realized the army intended to utilize it for world dominance. She met 18 while on the run, who assisted her, and the two ran into Cell. Android 18 sacrificed herself to protect the researcher. Goku and Krillin invite the woman to join them back on the ship, but the researcher declines, stating she wishes to return to her family. And I call bullshit because this doesn't make any sense, and I don't know why Krillin believes it. I mean, I get why Goku does because it's Goku, but Krillin is usually a bit smarter than this. Like, wouldn't Krillin think it's weird that 18 is wearing her Red Ribbon Army outfit? She's not even in the army. Fuck it. Goku and the others find Majin Buu, but he is asleep. Again. After fighting off the clones, we find out that even Buu has been affected by the power suppressing waves. And then after a few more fights, Kid Buu appears. When taking a move on the board, sometimes characters' spaces will increase in level, making the fighter in that space a little stronger. There's also a chance of Kid Buu taking over a space. Kid Buu, my mortal enemy. In almost every DBZ game, Kid Buu has always kicked my ass. And in this game, it's actually different because he's not that hard. His level is always higher than everyone else on the board, but he is always by himself, meaning it's 3 versus 1, baby! Winning against Kid Buu will net you some of the best skills in the game, so it is usually worth going out of your way to kick his ass. Over at the Cell Games arena, Cell is frustrated that Goku's power doesn't seem to be as diminished as his own. Frieza appears and taunts him. Oh yeah, I also kind of forgot that Frieza has returned too. Apparently they had an early agreement, but Cell has pursued his own plan instead. Don't worry, this story does elaborate on this plot point a little bit later on. Anyway, Frieza then arranges another bargain with Cell, this time providing information obtained by the Ginyu Force that may be useful. Back aboard the ship, Piccolo contacts Goku telepathically, asking for his help, so the team ventures off to find Best Dad. When Goku and Krillin arrive in the wastelands, they discover Piccolo sprawled out on the ground, surrounded by clones. Piccolo is revived after the battle on Bulma's ship. Rather than waiting for an explanation, Piccolo has gone ahead and just reads Bulma's mind. Piccolo is one of my favourite characters to play as. He just feels easier to move around the stage, and I could be really aggressive with his attacks. I'm not really that great with any of the characters, but I definitely favoured having both Piccolo and Krillin on my team. It's just a plus that they are two of my favourite Dragon Ball Z characters. It's always nice when these two factors overlap. Bulma explains that over at Capsule Corp they are conducting tests on Android 18, but there is nothing physically wrong with her and she should be awake soon. Piccolo raises concern about what Android 16 role is in all this, as it is hard to believe that the Android 16 they knew would go along with any Red Ribbon Army scheme. Bulma wonders if the 16 they met was a sort of clone, another 16 body with part of the original's memories. Piccolo comes to the conclusion that the best way to discover answers is to locate the Red Ribbon Army's base. Before finding the base, we take the time to rescue Gohan. I really like the scene Gohan has between Piccolo, Goku and himself.
We can just fuse together as father and son.
Fuse? Me and you? That's a great idea, Dad.
I know, right? But if we fused, what would our name be? Gokun, or maybe Gohan? Oh wait.
During a fight, you can unleash a barrage of ki blasts. It's a fast attack, but it leaves you open if you miss. I initially found it really weird that the basic little ki blast doesn't take any ki to use. The animations for it are very snappy and have a really cool little explosion effect on impact. Super attacks look even better, but they can only be performed if you have enough ki. The ki gauge can be filled by performing an energy charge, dealing or taking damage to your opponent, or simply advancing towards them. You can have up to 7 full ki gauges at once. Super and Ultimate attacks use different amounts of ki. They are varied in their effects and power, and help to make each character feel true to their source material, as their supers usually come in the form of their signature moves. You can also do a tag team super attack. I don't think that's what they're called, but that's just what I'm calling them. This is when one of your teammates will jump in when you're performing a super attack and launch one of their own. When I found out I could do this, I started spamming it because it's easy to perform and looks awesome. I love the team attacks and Raging Blast and wish that there were a lot more of them. While not exactly the same thing, I do love the notion of the characters joining their attacks together to take out an opponent. The Z Fighters find the entrance to what they believe to be one of the Red Ribbon Army labs. Android 16 then emerges from the entrance and jumps down to confront the group.
Why are you helping the Red Ribbon Army? I mean, that's insane!
There is no need for me to answer.
Please stop! No, wait! We don't want to fight you, 16! Just walk away from this nonsense with the strange waves and the clones!
Your motives are not relevant. If you will not engage, I will.
Following the fight, Goku recognizes that 16 had no intention of killing them, and Krillin believes he is being controlled by the Red Ribbon Army. I keep fumbling that. It's so hard to say, I don't know why. 16 vaguely explains that he wants to stop that monster from running amok. He reveals that monster to be Android 21, the Red Ribbon Army's leader. He follows 21's directions despite the fact that her demeanor is becoming more savage by the day, and he cannot risk leaving his post.
Exactly. If you were to leave your post, she would never awaken again.
Hey, you're the researcher from before!
21.
What in the world? She's 21?
Android 21 admits that 18 actually saved her and lied to everyone to avoid fighting. Since Android 21 isn't yet at her full capacity, she admits that all she wanted when the group came upon her was to prevent any form of cooperation with Cell. She then shifts her focus to 16, who she knows unleashed the waves and bonded the player's soul to Goku in order to give them an advantage. With 16 still allied with Goku and company, 21 transforms into her true form. At the very first glance of her true form, all I could think is that she looks like Majin Buu, but an android, and also a lady. I mean, she has the clothes, the skin, well, she does have a tail, which Buu doesn't have, so maybe not a clone. What's really strange is that none of the characters immediately bring up the obvious point that she looks like a Majin Buu being. What is that race called? It's just called Majin. She looks like a Majin, with a tail, and high heels. Android 21 blows up 16.
God, my fucking knee!
21 then tries to attack the Z fighters, but realizes that the previous attack has sapped her energy. 21 then flees, pursued by Goku, Krillin and Piccolo. Up in the sky, 21 states that she isn't ready to snack on them yet and directs Goku to unleash more of his power before blasting him down from the sky.
Goku! Wakey, wakey, sleepyhead. Snap out of it! You're wasting my time.
The soul is now inside Cell, but before we know it, Android 21 finds and attacks Cell, and we actually get to play as Cell, and this won't be the last time, unfortunately. Like I mentioned before, I really enjoy playing as both Krillin and Piccolo, but what I really love about FighterZ story mode is that it lets you play as whatever characters that you want. As long as you have them unlocked, you can use them in a fight. You don't have to play as Goku all the time. Even though we easily won the fight as this arc is the easiest, Cell is down on his knees, while 21 ponders whether or not to devour him as he is. The soul seems to be growing stronger no matter who we are linked with. It looks like Android 21 wants us to team up with Goku in order for her to be able to eat him and gain as much power as possible. With no other choice, Cell uses Solar Flare to escape. He uses Solar Flare a lot to escape, I'm just realizing. The Soul then relinks with Goku aboard the ship. The team needs to build up their strength, so they decide that it is time to find Vegeta. By focusing, Goku is able to pinpoint Vegeta's location, and if you couldn't guess, this is how you unlock all the characters. Well, at least in the story mode. When you win a fight, you'll always be rewarded with some amount of Zenny. It is used to buy capsules from the shop. One capsule costs 1000 Zenny and a set of 10 costs 10,000 Zenny. Capsules contain titles, alternate character colours, different chibi characters and other stuff like that. These are for online, just to look different. Some are more rare than others, but it is random as to what you will get. There is also a chance that you will get some premium currency inside a capsule. This is when you receive an item that you already have. Using premium Z coins to buy capsules guarantee they will contain items you don't have and are more likely to be rare. Zenny isn't really useful at all in the story mode, as none of the things you can buy with it are used in the story mode, but it is important if you want to unlock some extra characters. To unlock Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, you'll have to earn 300,000. It would have been nice if it was only 3,000. Alternatively, you can beat the arcade mode's Gravity Spaceship course and gain a rating of A rank on hard difficulty. For Super Saiyan Blue Goku, you need to earn 500,000 Zenny or score an A rank on the hard difficulty on arcade mode's Hyperbolic Time Chamber course. I managed to unlock Vegeta just by playing through the story mode, but no, I did not unlock Goku because I suck and also poor. Speaking of being poor, unlocking most of the roster is impossible without forking out a bunch of real world cash. You can't even play as Goku in his base form without having to pay extra. It costs $7.95 for each character. If I brought all 20 characters, that would be over $150. Like, what the hell? Why are they so expensive? I miss the days where you could unlock game content by, playing the game you already paid for. How does this work if you're a competitive player? Do you just buy the most powerful characters and just use them? But what happens if a character gets nerfed or something? Do you get your money back? Do you even stand a chance without buying these DLC characters? I don't know if I'd be as butthurt if this was a free-to-play title, or if they weren't so bloody expensive. I'm never gonna get to play Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta ever again. He's always gonna be a DLC character forever now.
kill all the poor.
Piccolo witnesses Frieza preparing to use Death Beam on a knocked out Vegeta and launches an energy blast at Frieza. The group arrive at Frieza's position to confront him. Frieza admits that he wanted to kill Vegeta before he could be devoured by 21, but decides to wipe out the Z fighters with the help of the Ginyu Force. After the battle, Frieza informs everyone that Android 21 feeds on those she defeats by turning them into candies, which increase her strength, kind of like Boo. Yet still, nobody brings this up. Goldo uses his paralyzing power so that Frieza and the Ginyu Force can flee the scene. The group then returns to the ship with Vegeta in hand. The team then decides to defeat the rest of the clones in order to stop 21 from getting more powerful, along with increasing the strength of their linking. So basically what we've already been doing. Now Frieza will appear on the board and we have the option to fight him multiple times. If you put Goku and Vegeta on the team and face Frieza, you get one of the best interactions in the game, of the two of them arguing over who gets to fight Frieza first.
When you were knocked out and Frieza tried to attack you, I blocked the attack and saved you.
Shut up! Why do you always bring that up? Now, if you're done trying to steal my moment of glory, I have a fight to get to.
Jeez, no need to be so moody, Vegeta. Just let me fight Frieza for a little bit, okay? Cool?
A bit? Do I look stupid? Just let me fight!
That is enough!
It's like an old married couple having a squabble. The Supreme Kai and Old Kai utilize the Old Kai's crystal ball to keep an eye on Android 21 from afar. Elder Kai suspects that she is something truly evil. He reminds Supreme Kai that all they can do is wait and hope that the heroes will prevail. I'm pretty sure this scene was only added to remind players that the land of the Kais exists, because we don't learn anything that we didn't know already. There are a couple of really easy to use combos that can be performed. Using a succession of light attacks, you can knock your opponent down with a flurry of powerful attacks. Doing the same with the medium attacks will automatically finish the combo with a super attack. And you can use the heavy attack to force your opponent back. These combos are one of the first things the game will teach you, as they are easy to learn since they are basically just button mashing. But they still look really cool and can help lead into using other techniques. Dragon Rush is a throw that all characters can use. You will hit the opponent with a barrage of punches. It can then launch them into the air. You can then force a switch in from the opponent. Sometimes. Well, that's what the tutorial said, and I did get it to work a couple of times at least. Look, this game has a lot of stuff to learn, and I did forget some of it, okay? Anyway, I usually just use a vanishing move instead to get behind my opponent. Vanishing moves are really easy to perform in this game. You don't have to worry about getting the right timing or anything like that. All you need to do is make sure you have at least one key gauge. This does mean you can't spam it though, which is good. Android 21 manages to turn Nappa into a really yummy looking cupcake. Japanese games always have really delicious looking food. I don't even really like cupcakes that much, but this scene really makes me want a cupcake. After eating the Nappa flavoured cupcake, Android 21 sets a cell watching from the shadows. She threatens that she is going to turn him into a cell cupcake, in which he scoffs at her at first, but then becomes amazed at how strong she has become in such a short amount of time.
It's time to eat!
Android 21 transforms the whole Ginyu Force into treats and devours them, rating them slightly higher in taste than Nappa. Frieza arrives on the scene and discovers that she has also eaten Cell. She states how feeble he was, then mocks Frieza by implying he isn't all that strong either. Frieza, irritated by her taunting, fires an energy blast at 21. But she teleports behind him and eats him. Now she sets her sights on Goku and the others. Back on the ship, I say that like that, back on the ship, well there's a lot of them going back to the ship, okay? I'm sorry, I don't know how else to explain it. Back on the ship, Goku senses the increasing power of Android 21, and then finally someone acknowledges that she is like Boo. Thank God, because I thought I was getting gaslitted here. Gaslitted? Gaslighted. I don't know how that sounds better. Gaslit. I was getting seriously gaslit about this freaking Boo business. Ah! Vegeta guesses she is making herself known in order to lure them in. Even with that said, Goku is more than ready to fight.
Let's do it!
For the final board of this arc, it is a linear path to the boss, so you must fight through everyone in order to reach the end, as a great way to amp up the challenge. You'll notice that your fighters do not heal back up to full health after each fight. Instead, you'll be given a small amount of health back at the end of a fight. Sometimes a lot more is recovered if there is a health KO bonus. If a fighter sits out of fight, they will restore more, so each board plays out a bit like a survival mode. You want to find a good balance of making your way through the board, collecting all the skills you want and rescuing the characters without losing too much health by the time you face off against the boss, because if all of your characters get KO'd, it's game over. I actually really like this system because it gives you a reason to use multiple characters. Sometimes you will have to set out your main party for some fights, so they can gain a bit of health back. The team confronts Android 21 in what looks like a volcano. Realizing that the fight is going to become very fierce and might destroy Earth, Goku decides to use instant transmission to take everyone to the land of the Kais, because Goku just loves destroying other people's homes, cause that's okay, just not his. Android 21 manages to catch up pretty quickly and the battle to save the Earth, but not the land of the Kais, because who cares about them, begins. This fight is a 3 versus 1 fight, but 21's level is way higher than any of our fighters. Her AI is a bit more aggressive than anything else we have faced. Using Best Dad Piccolo, we inflict the final blow.
I can't die here! Bastards!
As both the Supreme Kai and Old Kai congratulate Goku and his friends for their victory, Whis breaks the fourth wall and states that there are still a lot of questions left unanswered, meaning we need to play through the other arcs. If you find value in the many hours of this channel's content, then become a channel member today, or consider giving a small tip through the Super Thanks feature. Next up is the Enemy Warrior arc. On New Namek, Porunga tells androids 21 and 16 that their wishes have been granted. Cell, Frieza, Nappa, and the Ginyu Force are all seen unconscious on the ground. 16 rouses an unconscious Soul in a laboratory and explains the soul is linked to Frieza. Frieza looks at himself in disbelief in the mirror, but 16 reassures him that everything is real and that they were originally meant to be linked to Goku, but for a number of reasons that didn't come to pass. Honestly, when I first started playing the Enemy Warrior arc, I thought it was going to be following the same storyline as the Super Warrior arc, but from the perspective of the villain characters. But this is only sort of true, as the storyline is very similar as we're out to stop Android 21, and it is from this perspective of the villains, but it is more of a what if scenario of the what if scenario. So instead of the player's soul being linked with Goku, it's what if we were linked with Frieza. But this isn't really conveyed that well because for a while I thought we were playing as a different soul, but I'm pretty sure this is the same soul but in a different timeline. Does that make sense?
I get it.
I don't get it.
Android 16 informs Frieza that we will be in control of him.
Okay, enough with all these stupid jokes. Time to get serious, or I am going to erase you right here and now. Then you realize just how impossible it is for someone to ever take me over.
He seems okay with it. Since we are now playing from the other side, we will need to rebuild our team, but this time it will need to be a team of villains, and the first one we will be recruiting is Nappa. We find him in a ruined city, but he doesn't seem to be a clone like the others. He seems to be a not clone, if if you will. You can build a team of up to 3 fighters to participate in fights. Each character has their own separate health bar and link level. Whoever you put in your first team slot will have their character portrait as your board icon, and will always be the first one up when the fight starts. In FighterZ, matches is the 3 versus 3 format, so you can call on your other fighters for help or switch into them anytime you want. Before a match, you get to choose the assist for each character. Just press the assist button for the character and they'll come out and perform an assist attack. If you want to switch to the character, hold the assist button or press it while pushing forwards on the control stick. There's a cooldown period after using an assist or switching characters, so you have to wait a bit before doing it again. I do like how quick you can switch between characters. Team battles and other DBZ games like Raging Blast would allow for multiple characters in a fight, but the switching would take so long, especially in Raging Blast if you were interrupted. It would play a little quick time event. While it was very DBZ-ish, it was annoying and took forever. So I would avoid switching too much during a match. I just wait for a fighter to die and let the game switch in automatically just to avoid the hassle of switching myself. I know, I'm lazy. When a fighter's health reaches 0, the next character will enter the fight. A cool animation will play showing the 2 fighters clashing. Unfortunately, there seems to only be one animation and it plays out the same for every character, at least in the story mode. I'm pretty sure there are more because I played a bit of arcade mode and there was different ones. I don't know why they only play one in the story mode. It would have been cool if there was a little variety, but honestly this is just a minor nitpick. Frieza effortlessly defeats Nappa. Nappa suddenly recognizes Frieza and begs for forgiveness, explaining that he couldn't recognize Frieza since he had changed his form since their last meeting.
That Frieza's such a jerk.
Did you say something?
No, sir, not a thing!
In the Rocky Canyon, Frieza and Nappa meet Captain Ginyu and his force, with Frieza informing the squad that they now work for him. Ginyu chuckles and declares that he will annihilate anyone who gets in his way, so Frieza decides to teach them all a lesson. FighterZ made me fall in love with the Ginyu Force again. They are so much fun to watch, and I really wish that Frieza would let them show off their little victory dance.
Listen up! The merciful Lord Frieza has given us a chance to return to his army. Now we will express our eternal joy and gratitude in the form of a dance!
You really needn't bother.
Oh, as you wish, my lord.
Ginyu is also the best villain to play with, at least I think so. His attacks include other members of the Force jumping in and helping out. I really didn't like playing as Frieza at all. He has pauses in his combos that would throw me off, and he launches his super at a weird angle and I keep missing with it. In the midst of the waste, Captain Ginyu has impressed Frieza with his fighting skills, but he is hesitant to let the soul occupy Frieza's body. Frieza assures him that he is not happy with the arrangement either, but that he needs the soul in order to unleash his full power.
So, they revived you too. Now, things are getting interesting.
Cell asks Frieza if he knows anything about the person who revived him and placed a strange soul in his body. Ginyu suggests that she might need far more people than they first realized. This isn't lost on Cell, who determines that they must know more about the situation than they're letting on. Frieza has no compulsion to reveal this information, though he might do so should he be shown some respect.
What an unbelievably banal request. I don't care what you want. Tell me everything you know.
I see. It would appear that this fellow is much slower in the head than I first assumed. Isn't that special? No matter. I'll just have to teach you the hard way.
FighterZ doesn't do a very good job at explaining the whole soul linking situation. It's not that the game doesn't try to explain it, it just does so in a very fragmented way, which is kind of confusing at the beginning. So after this interaction with Cell, we find out about artificial souls. This is what Cell is possessed with. When an artificial soul is linked to a person, as a consequence, the body's power is weakened and an artificial soul is unable to access many aspects of an individual's power. However, this works a bit differently with a real soul. When a real soul is linked to another body by linking, it functions nearly identical to body change, except that the original soul is suppressed into unconsciousness. One of the benefits of soul linking is that the linked soul is not impacted by the power suppressing waves, allowing the soul of a fighter to use their abilities. A linked soul can bond with their host's original soul, drawing out more and more of the original body's full power. They have the ability to converse telepathically with whoever isn't in control, communicating from within their mind. A linked soul can also choose to return control to their original host. A fighter can, however, convert an artificial soul to their will. as Frieza and Cell did in the Super Warrior arc and as Cell does in this arc. Android 21 is monitoring Frieza's progress. She and 16 are a bit surprised to see that Cell and Frieza have agreed to team up, at least for now. The linked soul poses too much danger to ignore, so she sends Android 18 to defeat both Frieza and Cell. It seems that 21 has linked Android 18 with an artificial soul in order to control her. After destroying a few more clones, Android 21 catches up with the Frieza Force and demonstrates her ability to absorb power by turning a Goku clone into a donut. I don't even really like donuts, but man, that donut looks good. Android 18 has arrived with 21 and she prepares to fight.
Well, you're an impudent one.
Oh no, please! Spare her, will you? I'll do anything you tell me!
What an idiot! She's wide open! I don't know what's going on here, but if you wish to die that badly, so be it! 18!
Now this is where the Super Warrior arc and the Enemy Warrior arc start to intersect, and it is also at this point where the plot starts to play out quite differently than the Warrior arc. Although Cell and Frieza still take the opportunity to beat up Goku. I mean, who wouldn't? Give them a chance. The topmost health bar signifies your active character. The two health bars beneath the top one are your two other characters' health bars, with the one on the top being your first assist and the one on the bottom being your second. When in its normal state, the health bar is yellow, or green if you haven't taken any damage, but when you start taking damage, the damage is represented by a red section of your health bar, which will disappear after the current combo you're being hit with ends. Finally, after being hit, a portion of your health bar that was taken off will turn blue, indicating recoverable health that can be healed in a variety of ways, including tagging in one of your backup characters, which will cause the character who was active to gradually recover their blue health. If the character re-entering the fight has any remaining blue health, it will be gone once they start fighting.
I can't believe how strong you actually are. I need to at least save 18. Huh? What's going on? He stopped moving.
Lord Frieza?
Ah, I get it.
I'm really confused.
This time around, instead of Cell fleeing without actually being able to explain the situation to the Z Fighters, everyone becomes aware early on that Android 21 is the real threat, explaining that because of the soul within Frieza, he is unable to do any evil acts. Goku suggests that they team up and reveals that they have a way to free everyone from the link, thanks to Bulma's invention. At that very moment, Bulma's ship becomes under attack from clones. Goku and Krillin fly off to save her. Cell and Frieza decide to help, but only to get Bulma and her machine. You cannot fly in fighters.
This is an outrage! I am outraged beyond words! Although I do have something to say.
It's so strange to be playing a Dragon Ball game where the characters don't fly. It's just become so iconic to the series. Instead of flying, you'll be jumping a lot. You can either jump straight up, jump in towards your opponent, or jump away from your opponent. This is performed by simply holding up in the direction you want to move. There is a double jump and a super jump variant that allows you to gain more height, but no flying. FighterZ is a designated no-fly zone. I think the story tries to justify why they can't fly because of the waves and them not being powerful enough without the link, but then in some scenes they're seen flying anyway, so I don't know. The jump is great for positioning yourself behind your opponent, dodging attacks, and you can even perform an air dash while jumping. Dashing is a quick movement, either forward or backwards. Every character has a different forward dash. Some characters will take off into a charge towards the opponent, and others will simply hop forward a little bit. This can be a great way to close the gap between you and your opponent. It can also be used to deflect ki blasts, but I mainly just use it for the dash effect. It's great for continuing a combo in the air when you can get the camera to cooperate. I really don't like how a lot of the time when jumping and attacking in the air, the camera will pan way up on the screen, and then when one of the characters drop back down on the ground, you can't see them. The game will display a player number instead. Because the game is on a 2D plane, it doesn't affect the controls at all. I just really don't like not being able to see what I'm doing. It also does this when fighting right at the edge of the stage. The camera has a bit of trouble keeping both fighters in view. They manage to save Bulma, but of course the machine doesn't do what Goku claimed it would because he's an idiot. He's suffering from Super Goku syndrome in this game, where he's just stupider than he usually should be. I don't know. Dragon Ball Super made Goku strange, like dumb. I don't know how to explain it. They done something to him. While the artificial souls are negated, the player soul within Frieza remains. Cell thanks Bulma before raising his hand to strike her with his power, but she is unfazed. The only way they can still use their abilities is with the link with the real soul. Furthermore, the machine only momentarily suppresses the waves, meaning that they will need to utilize it on a regular basis in order to maintain control of their bodies. Though the others agree to work with her, Frieza points out that his link to his soul hasn't been destroyed, thus he still has access to his powers. He prepares to punish everyone for their transgressions. Of course, the player soul doesn't let him, and Frieza is forced to cooperate. Now that the Z Fighters and Frieza Force have officially teamed up, we can now start recruiting some of the hero characters such as Tien, Yamcha, and even Gotenks. Oh, and if you're wondering if there are fusions or transformations during fights, there are, but not really. Some attacks will have characters transform briefly, and Frieza can go golden, but it's not like in the other games where you power up your ki and be in that form for a lengthy duration of the fight. And as for fusions, well, you better be willing to pay up. And no, I'm not bitter. Why do you ask? There is a funny moment where Ginyu tries to explain to Goku why being in the Frieza Force is so great. It turns out that they get some pretty awesome benefits. Maybe I should join the Frieza Force. They wouldn't want me.
The Frieza Force provides the best of the best for its warriors. We have a great healthcare package, cutting-edge medical equipment, and top-of-the-line battle suits. In addition to that, if we do well in battle, we get our own planet as a bonus.
Wow, I didn't really understand much of what you said, but it sounds like you get a lot. But you know, it kind of sounds like what Vegeta gets, except his stuff is better.
Don't be ridiculous. There are no other armies on nearby planets as amazing as the Frieza Force.
No, really, I'm not kidding. Well, I don't know about any planet bonus, but he gets to eat as much as he wants, and can even train to his heart's content in his own gravity chamber. And Vegeta doesn't even have to work. He just trains all day. Like, all day.
What? But,
Of all people, and he doesn't even work!
Whoa! He really gets that kind of treatment? I might actually be jealous of that blasted Vegeta. What am I saying? Vegeta can't get away with this.
Pull yourselves together, man! It doesn't matter what we're paid. We're members of the strongest army ever! And we will prove that by beating Vegeta in this fight!
Android 16 is within the Red Ribbon Army lab when 21 returns exhausted. He asks where 18 is and finds out that 21 just left her behind because she's a bitch. She tells him not to worry, instead ordering that he find and eliminate Frieza. He questions whether she truly wants that since she might not be able to eat him, but she informs him that his corpse, while inferior to him being fresh, will suffice. Only after he leaves does 21 reveal that she knows that he is the one who linked the soul inside Frieza. Meanwhile, the Z Fighters and the Frieza Force manage to rescue Piccolo, but the tension remains high between Piccolo and Cell, and for good reason. Cell can be such a dick sometimes. In the Wastelands, Android 16 manages to catch up with him. Krillin demands to know why he is helping 21, noting the sadness in his eyes. Before 16 can respond, Cell starts the fight. After being defeated, Frieza asks 16 whether he knows where 21 is. Frieza and Cell are ready to destroy him when he refuses to talk, but are stopped by Goku. Android 21 then appears. Cell deduces from her abilities that she looks similar to him, being made up of many different cells. When Frieza mocks her wish to save 16, she surprises him by claiming she simply wants to watch the traitor die. She details how he is the one who linked the soul without her permission, and then transforms into her true form so she can destroy him. She comes to an abrupt halt and falls on her knees. Frieza and Cell team up to kill her when they spot an opening. 16, on the other hand, gets in the way of the blast. Rather than thanking him, 21 dismisses him as stupid, having played them all for fools, and then kills 16. 21 then taunts Frieza and Cell into attacking her, but their attacks are ineffective. 21 then departs, stating she wants to wait until they get tastier. They realize that even with training, they can't gain enough strength while the waves are influencing them. Frieza proposes a solution. We must level up the player soul so we can defeat 21. So basically what we've already been doing. Back on the ship, Back on the ship, Goku senses Vegeta's energy, but Frieza has no desire to rescue such a traitor. But even Cell can see the benefit of having Vegeta on their team. They arrive in the Rocky Canyon and find the unconscious Vegeta.
How amusing. Even unconscious, he can still make my skin crawl with rage. Maybe I should just kill him while I have the chance.
The team defeats all the clones and return to the ship. They inform Vegeta about the situation with Android 21. Piccolo persuades Vegeta to join the team, and Vegeta is forced to accept that there is no better option, despite Frieza's continuous taunting. Because what's really important is friendship and teamwork, and you can't have a Dragon Ball Z game without friendship.
Odd. Why am I having so much trouble finding clones? I'm getting annoyed. I meet so many. I don't know how this can be. Could it be? It is Frieza! But how could he defeat so many in such a short period of time? I need to hurry up and make some more candy before they destroy all the clones.
Vegeta asks Frieza how long he'll keep up the stupid clone hunt as the crew finishes off another batch. Piccolo suggests that they defeat the source of the clones, but Cell asserts that she'll show up eventually if they keep killing her clones, since she needs strong fighters to sedate her appetite. Android 21 appears to be going through withdrawals, desiring even more candy to power herself with.
She's even angrier than I thought she'd be. Maybe the hunger is getting to her.
Who cares what kind of mood she's in? It doesn't change the fact we're going to destroy her.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! I'm going to punish every last one of you! You hear me?
Are you talking to me? It is you who is about to be punished.
Like I mentioned earlier, the plot of the enemy arc plays out quite a bit differently than that of the warrior arc, but you ultimately end up accomplishing the same thing. Stopping Android 21. You do get a little bit more insight to the goings on with the villains and learn a bit more about the link system, but the origins of Android 21 and what the hell is up with 16 still remains a mystery. Once we overcome this final battle in the enemy arc, we will be able to move on to the third and final arc, which contains the most revelations when it comes to the androids. Realizing they don't have enough power to destroy her before she can regenerate, Bulma powers up her machine to over 2000%. Allowing Goku, Frieza, and Cell to deliver the final blow.
This is the last time I will ever look upon your fire face!
And now it's time to show you what true strength is.
Is it over?
Yeah, we did it!
Amazing! What a perfect victory, Lord Frieza!
And now for you, the soul that is inside of me. I admit I had my doubts at first, but in the end you brought forth fine results. Out of respect for your excellent work, I'd like to enlist you in my army. Doesn't that make you happy? I knew it would. I knew it would!
You never learn, do you? Looks like you just want to be sent right back to hell.
You filthy Saiyan! Do not forget your place!
Alright, guys. Don't let your guard down. They've already regained all their power. Which means I've regained mine as well. Now I can finally defeat them on my own!
As long as you keep doing bad stuff, I'll just beat you up as many times as I have
You must be dreaming. Time to wake up. I'm going to get my revenge and settle the score once and for all. There's one more thing. How long do you intend to remain inside me? I refuse to let anyone hinder my revenge. Now hurry up and get out! With that finished, we have no one left to interrupt us. Shall we begin our own battle? And it's your turn to die now!
I love a happy ending. Kill them all, that's what I say. The Android 21 arc begins with Android 18 out in the wastelands. She lands down on the ground complaining of a painful headache, probably being caused by the power suppressing waves. She shows concern for her husband Krillin, hoping that he is okay, and then suddenly Android 16 appears before her. Obviously she is very surprised, as the last she heard was that he was destroyed by Cell. Before she can get any explanation from 16, not that he would explain anything anyway, as so far he's been annoyingly vague in this game. A sharp pain courses through her head, rendering her unconscious.
Apologies, 18, but I'm afraid you're going to serve us now.
Waking up in the Red Ribbon Army lab, 18 is now being linked with the player's soul. Just like in all the other arcs, the soul is able to communicate with 18 inside her mind, and she reveals that she has already figured out what linking is. Now, it is never explained how she figured it out so fast. I just guess the writers realized that it was getting a bit repetitive having the characters explain the same thing over and over again, and we're just like, 18's smart. Let's just say she already knows what it is. And honestly, thank God, because I really just didn't want to hear the story about linking again. Android 21 is standing by next to the bed 18 is lying in, and is way nicer than how she was acting in the other two arcs.
Greetings, Android 18. It's a pleasure to meet you.
21 claims responsibility for bringing 18 to the lab, as well as for the linking. The Red Ribbon Army were the ones who manufactured these clones, and she asks 18, with the help of the soul inside her, to defeat them. Fighting them does require a powerful body. That is why she chose Android 18. When the mission is completed, 16 claims that 18 will regain control of her body.
The design, it's based off of what Android 18 wore, when she was still a fighter.
Hell no! There's no way I'm wearing those.
Okay, so that explains where the clothes came from. I was like, what the fuck, why is she wearing this?
Of course you should.
It would seem that 18 is not happy with this.
Well, that's a problem. I guess that I'll need to prepare something new.
But first, I'll need materials.
Then fine, whatever. I don't want to be here all day. Hurry up. Change the clothes already. We need to destroy these clones and end this as soon as possible. Oh, and if you lose, I'm gonna bill you a fortune in damages.
Good luck with that. This game's already bled me dry. While 18 is changing into her fighting gear in the other room, 16 wonders if 21 is really going to force her to fight. She believes it is their only hope. Android 17's link broke as soon as he awoke, implying that this is the longest the link has lasted. 21 cries out in agony, admitting that she doesn't have much time left, stating she can't stop if 18 fails. Men, stay away from this one. She's a crazy bitch. She's got them crazy eyes. When 18 returns to the room, she is surprised to see her twin brother Android 17. As hinted at earlier, 17 was brought here first, but his link failed. He decided to stay so he could team up with his sister. And he meant this quite literally, as he will aid 18 during a fight, kind of like how the Ginyu Force does when playing as Captain Ginyu. I am so glad that this arc features 18 as one of the main characters, as she is one of my favourite Dragon Ball Z characters, and she is also one of my favourite characters to play as in the game. I am getting so lucky with fighters. All of my favourite characters are actually some of the most fun to play as. During this arc, we have access to very few characters. For most of it, we will only have a two-man team, with Android 18 and 16. At first, I really did not like playing as 16. He uses a lot of tackles and grabs, kind of like controlling a rugby player in a drunken brawl down in the local pub. But after a few fights, I got used to the way he moved and didn't mind his playstyle as much. Because we have such a small team with no fighters in reserve, we have to be a lot more mindful of our character's health. If you lose a fight, you will be knocked back a space. All of the members that were knocked out during the fight will remain that way. That goes for you and your opponent. With the remaining characters, you can build a new team and take on the fight again. If you have rescued all of the characters, then this can turn into a war of attrition if you want it to. This is one of the reasons why the Android 21 arc is the hardest, because you just don't have access to that many characters until near the end. 21 appears after defeating a clone floating over the clone's body, wriggling her hands and resisting the impulse to consume it. Just as she is about to give in, 16 interrupts her and reminds her of her goal. 17 insists on an explanation, but he receives no response.
You sure love giving people the silent treatment.
Sometimes if you end a fight with a powerful attack, you will get a destructive finish. I don't think you get anything extra from getting these, they just look really awesome. Like a lot of things in this game. Many Dragon Ball games in the past have attempted to emulate the look and style of the anime, and many of them have been quite successful in that regard, but none have come as close as FighterZ. As amazing what Arc System Works was able to achieve, this game looks absolutely amazing. I think it is the best looking Dragon Ball game to date, and honestly it looks better than the anime a lot of the time. Using a combination of highly stylized model design and impressive custom cell shaders, the characters look spot on to their anime counterparts. But having them look right is just one aspect of replicating the anime style. They also have to move right. One of the things that give anime the distinct look, especially Dragon Ball Z, is the lack of animation in a way. With many scenes ranging from having 12 animation cells per second to 1 animation cell per minute. The time and budget constraints of making a weekly series definitely shows, but it does add to the aesthetic of Dragon Ball. In FighterZ, a lot of the animations are stepped, jumping from keyframe to keyframe, with very little in-betweens, as you would expect to see in most 3D animation. The characters will often have freeze frames too, to emphasize powerful attacks and for the victory screens at the end of fights. In 3D animation, you would usually want to avoid having your character completely stop moving as it looks really weird. That's why in games characters always have small idle animations when you stop moving them around. But because of the extent the developers went to making their characters look 2D, they can get away with having them not move as they just come across as 2D images. I love some of the exaggerated expressions that can be seen in some of the cutscenes, like with the interaction between Beerus and Bulma. The sudden shift in lighting just looks so cool. Most of the cutscenes in the story mode are very simple and feature a lot of characters just standing around and talking, but when the game decides to go all out, it really goes all out. Yeah, this game looks freaking awesome. Everything from the characters, their attacks, key blasts, the backgrounds, just simply amazing. This is the best looking Dragon Ball Z game, so far at least. I'd love to see if they could make it look better. We'll see. As we fight more and more clones, Android 21 is finding it harder and harder to control herself. Later in the city, 21 attempts to regain control, stating that her hunger is getting unbearable. 17 presses harder for answers, and 16 states that she needs a lot of energy to control her power. 17 proposes that they go back to the lab, but before they can leave, Krillin appears.
Wait!
Krillin!
18, are you okay?
I was afraid this might happen.
You're 17 and 16? But why?
What are you doing here?
Isn't it obvious? I came to save 18. 16. Is that really you? Or are you some new version, like the clones? 16. Did you have anything to do with our power getting sealed away?
Sealed away?
Krillin, hold on a minute. What are you talking about?
16 claims that they had nothing to do with turning on the wave machine. At this point, Android 21 seems to have lost control of herself and begins to maniacally giggle, 16 confronts her and orders Krillin to leave. Krillin won't leave without 18, and despite her desire to, she can't go with him. Powered up, 21 gives 18 the order to fight Krillin. She flat out refuses, and while 21 would be happy to take on the task herself, 16 warns 18 that doing so would be a bad idea. With no other option, 18 attacks Krillin rather than letting 21 kill him.
Hey you, the one inside me. Listen to me. If you let Krillin die, I'll make sure you pay.
So apparently at some point Dr. Gero created the Rave Machine. The game never goes into details as to what he made it for. Maybe he intended to use it against the Z Fighters at some point, but never did for whatever reason. I guess it wouldn't be much use during the Android saga if it affected him and his androids too.
18! Why?
Krillin!
Don't worry. He is only unconscious.
Thank goodness.
So, 21. Satisfied now?
He looks so delicious.
Android 21 has clearly lost it and wants to eat Krillin. When she walks over to him, Android 16 blocks her. 16 tries to get her to resist, but his words do nothing. With no other option, the player soul links with 21. Inside her mind there is a shadowy figure behind her, laughing and taunting her. The shadow threatens that it is only a matter of time before 21 completely loses her mind, and then the shadow vanishes. The soul then returns back to 18. While this is happening, Android 17 manages to take Krillin to a safe place, where he was sure that his friends would find him. Finding out that 21 is linked with yet another soul, 16 promises that he will provide answers once they get to one of the labs to heal 21, which means fighting more clones before we find out shit. When you defeat enemies, you will sometimes be rewarded with a skill or a KO bonus. The match preview will show you the rewards that you can win before you begin a match, so you can decide beforehand whether or not it is worth going out of your way to fight an enemy. While on the board, you are able to edit your team and the skills they have equipped. Up to 3 skills can be equipped at once, all of which power up the entire team of fighters. You can also stack skills, so if you have 3 attack power level 1s, you can equip all 3 of them at the same time. KO bonuses increase the amount of experience, zenny or health you can earn upon defeating an opponent, but honestly they aren't all that great. They are supposed to be an incentive to go out of your way on the board, but they are never worth it. Like, you get 50 extra zenny, so what? There's pretty much nothing.
Kill all the poor.
16 takes the group to a different lab than the one they were in earlier. There are labs like this all over the world, and even Android 16 doesn't know how many there are. As promised, 16 finally starts giving some answers on who or what Android 21 is. 21 was an android constructed from the cells of numerous warriors and intelligent researchers, and is far stronger than Cell, even at his peak. Android 21 has an innate, fixated desire to feed due to her biology. She, like Majin Buu, enjoys sweets and confectionaries. According to Android 16, at some point the cells in 21 may have gone berserk, which resulted in her uncontrollable urges to feed. It is likely that the Majin Buu cells may have been responsible. That's probably why her true form resembles him so much. Her hunger is so intense and agonizing that it has ruined 21's psyche, resulting in a split personality. The longer she goes without feeding, the more the evil side of her gains control. They launched the Linking System project in hope that it would help quell her urges. Dr. Gero developed it, and 21 utilizes it to combat her darker side, as the linked soul can control her body. 16 explains that the system's flaw is that most souls return to their bodies quickly, thus he has no idea why the player's soul has remained for so long. 16 reveals that 21 is the one who repaired him for the sole purpose of helping him to stop her from going mad. She and Android 16 decide to link the soul to Android 18 so that the soul can become strong enough to link with 21 to help control her insatiable hunger and suppress her evil side. At points during this chapter, we can link with 21 and get some more insight into her backstory. She recalls that there was a time before she was turned into an android that she was a mother and that she had a son. When she realized that she wanted so badly to see him and have him by her side, she repaired Android 16. Why Android 16? Well, his design was modeled off her son. Now, this game doesn't really elaborate much further on this aspect, but I was curious, so I delved a little bit deeper. I went on Google. Her son's name was Givo, and he was also the son of Dr. Gero. Either 21 doesn't remember this, or for some other reason doesn't realize that Dr. Gero was the father of her son. I hope it's the memory thing, because otherwise this has some really creepy implications. Anyway, their son was a high-ranking Red Ribbon soldier and he was killed by an enemy bullet. Dr. Gero ended up modeling Android 16 after him. Because he didn't want him to be destroyed in battle, Dr. Gero deliberately programmed Android 16 to be non-aggressive.
But I insist we still kill Son Goku.
Apart from killing Goku, of course. Again, this is not explained in the main story. I just thought it was interesting. After defeating yet another horde of clones, 17 observes that 18's powers are growing. A blast comes from nowhere and 16 protects 21 from getting struck. Cell arrives having tracked them down. He says that 21 is to blame for everything bad that is happening to him because he's been a whiny little bitch. I'm being so mean to Cell in this, but fuck him. Cell is so whiny in this game, I don't remember him being like that. Cell uses his artificial soul to power up. He has suppressed it and uses it to his advantage. 21 attempts to stop him, but 16 intervenes, telling her she must flee. She ignores him, activating her true form, but her eyes remain blue, indicating the good 21 is still in control. And for the first time in this arc, we have a full team of 3, finally. Android 21 is one of the very few characters that you can actually unlock without paying, so yay for small mercies. She's quite fun to play as too. She has this attack where you can absorb someone else's ki blast and use it herself, kind of like Kirby. Cell is defeated and falls to the ground. 21 succumbs to her cravings while standing over his body, unable to resist. 16 begs her to stop. 16 instructs 18 to link with 21 in order to stop her, and 18 tries, but 21 manages to break the link and sends the soul back into 18's body. With no other option, 16 fires on her.
What are you doing? 16!
I'm just keeping my promise.
Shut up! Shut up! Get out of my
Finish this here.
16!
Please, protect 21's heart.
What are you doing? 16 just died for you.
16? No. No. 16? This can't be.
How did it come to this? What happened?
Evil Android 21 Evil Android 21 emerges in person for the first time. She turns Cell into a donut and devours him, proceeding to transform into a more powerful form that is very reminiscent of the Buu absorption seen in Budokai 2. I don't know if this is a mistake or what, but she eats Cell in the other arcs, but she doesn't change her form. I don't know if that's because she never splits up or what. I don't know. I just thought it was like, it doesn't matter, but yeah, that's the thing. 21 vows to stop her, attacking her with a blast that has no effect on the Evil 21. Evil 21 taunts them before leaving. You know how I was just celebrating that we finally have a full team? Well,
Be damned!
At least we still have the good Android 21 on our side. 21 thinks her evil half is heading for one of the labs to destroy what she fears the most, but she doesn't elaborate. Sparking Blast is a mechanic that I don't really understand all that well, as the game doesn't really explain what it does, at least not in the story mode. A red kind of aura will surround your character and will push back your opponent if they are too close when it is first activated. Once active, your character will begin recovering their blue health. They will do increased damage and probably some other stuff that I never noticed. I also think that it's supposed to get more effective the less characters you have remaining on your team, so it's a sort of comeback mechanic. Honestly, I kept forgetting that this was even a thing you could do, even though there is a flashing icon on the screen that indicates when you can use it. I must be going blind. To be fair though, this game is very visually noisy. The Evil 21 walks into the lab full of vats, walks up to a console and picks up a device. 17 strikes her from behind with a blast before she can react. The Good 21 reveals that the device is the wave machine, and that the Evil 21 built it a long time ago to imprison the power and the souls of every fighter on Earth. While everyone was down and out, she was going to devour them. Now this kind of contradicts the other information that says that Dr. Gero created the wave machine. Maybe it's just the way it's worded. Since Dr. Gero never used it, it might not have been finished, and so Evil 21 got it working. The waves affected both 21s, and the Evil One assumed the Good One would never resurface. Evil 21's diminished strength paved the way for the Good 21 to awaken, and the element of surprise was ultimately what kept the Evil One at bay. Evil 21 consumes the device, reducing its effectiveness. Right as she is about to strike the injured party, Goku and Krillin intervene unexpectedly.
Everyone, get down!
Krillin!
This is okay! 18! Are you okay?
Goku uses instant transmission and soon reappears with sensu beams.
Huh? You're back already?
No worries. Korin already had some prepared. Here, everyone, eat these.
You are going to regret this.
I've heard. You're the bad half of 21, isn't that right?
How do you know about that?
Sorry, I'll explain later.
It looks like he somehow found out about everything. And also, was that instant transmission just now? He's as dangerous as I feared.
Rather than fighting him, Evil 21 was able to learn instant transmission instantly. And teleports away. The Z Fighters got up to date on the situation at Kami's lookout, which also explains why Korin already had some beans prepared. 18 apologizes to her husband for fighting him, but he tells her not to worry, knowing she didn't have much of a choice. Goku and the others offer to help 21 destroy her evil self, which 21 is very appreciative, and so am I, because this means we have access to pretty much all of the hero characters, apart from 16.
Hey, Dad!
Depending on the team, you can get even more unique interactions. Another really cool attention to detail is that if you have 18 and Krillin on the same team, Krillin will replace 17 during 18's Cell dance attack.
Let's do it, Krillin. Oh, come on.
I wish I could find someone who would do a dance attack with me. The Z Fighters have been noticing that there are less and less clones around. 18 surmises that the Evil 21 must be going around eating them in order to increase her power. Vegeta thinks that they should just find and destroy the Evil 21 as soon as possible, but the group ultimately decides that the best course of action is to continue strengthening their link, and if that doesn't work, then 21 has something else in mind. When moving through the board, especially in the Android 21 arc, I found myself falling quite behind in levels. I wasn't fighting absolutely every enemy, but I was definitely making my way through the majority of them. This is when the experience boost skill can become very useful. Before a match, equipping these skills will net you a significant amount of experience and help to alleviate the gap. It's worth noting that fighting enemies that are lower level than you rewards a significantly lower amount of experience. These were the fights that I was mostly skipping, unless they had a really good skill that I wanted. I really enjoyed the leveling system in this game. It's not too grindy and it ties in well with the story. The characters need the soul link to get more powerful, and that is exactly what you're doing. I think the max level is 100, but on your first playthrough of the story mode, you'll get nowhere near that unless you choose to grind a bunch. Once you finish the story mode for the first time, you unlock hard mode, where the characters' levels are a lot higher. With all the clones destroyed, the Z Fighters are the only ones left for the Evil 21 to consume. They find Evil 21 at the volcano, which turns out isn't even on Earth, which is confusing because the characters are all concerned about the fight destroying Earth, but it isn't even on Earth. Anyway, they teleport to the land of the Kais.
We'll be waiting for you!
What?
Evil 21 manages to catch up with them in a matter of seconds. She's astounded that Good 21 would consider fighting her, given that she hasn't eaten anything to increase her power. She taunts her, attempting to entice her to give in to her hunger, but the Good 21 wants none of it. Evil 21 powers up, ready to kill and devour them. Despite this being the second to last fight in the story mode, it isn't very challenging since we have control over a full team.
Did we win?
No, not yet.
No need to rush things. I'll make sure I eat every last one of you.
What in the... But she was all beat up just a minute ago.
Her healing abilities are off the charts. We need to destroy every last cell of her, or she'll just keep coming back.
We'll have to finish this with a spirit bomb. Sorry, everyone, but can you all buy me some time while I gather energy? Everyone, send me all of your energy now!
I'll fend her off. Whatever you do, please stay linked with me and fight.
For the final fight, it is 1v1, with you only being able to control the good Android 21. For this fight, we're a bit underleveled, and Evil 21's health regen is no joke. Just look at how fast she is able to heal. My first attempt went pretty bad, but luckily you don't actually have to defeat Evil 21. You just have to survive until the timer reaches 0, giving Goku enough time to unleash the Spirit Bomb.
What are you doing? Get out of my way!
Goku, what's the holdup?
Thanks, everyone. I'm all good to go.
21!
I know.
This way, hurry! Now, Goku!
Okay, here it goes! Spirit Bomb!
Stop me!
Ugh, I can't believe that wasn't enough.
Kidding me!
But we've used up all our power!
Goku, it's up to you.
Damn it!
Please take care of the other soul inside of me. I owe him a great deal. Thank you. And goodbye. 21.
No. 21.
Oh dear. Looks like we're a bit late.
Lord Beerus, what are you doing here?
So where's that Android 21 right now?
They both got hit by the spirit bomb.
Looks like the bad one caught the spirit bomb, and then the good one just ran in after.
I see. She must have understood what the best course of action was. Due to her abnormal urges to feed, she would have surely become a danger again someday. Thus, she decided to end it all herself.
You need to return whoever's in 18 back to their original body, don't you?
Oh, right!
So, I guess this is goodbye, huh?
The ending was a little bit underwhelming, mostly because it felt like the story didn't go into enough detail about what exactly was going on with the human soul we were playing as. Like, I get that it's supposed to be the player, but I felt like there should have been more to it than that, but there isn't. And also the linking system and the waves aren't really well explained either. It was all a bit too vague, and while I did enjoy Android 21 as a character, her whole motive and plan just comes across as needlessly convoluted. Despite the fact that FighterZ is the closest any game has come to looking like Dragon Ball, it doesn't really feel like a Dragon Ball game. When fighting in a match, it just doesn't come close to invoking the essence of a Dragon Ball fight like the Budokai Tenkaichi series or even the Raging Blast series, but that doesn't by any means mean that it's a bad Dragon Ball game. In fact, I think it's excellent. The controls are very responsive. It is very noob friendly too. It allows you to pick up the controller and not have too much trouble with performing simple attacks and combos. FighterZ strikes a great balance of having a low skill floor with a high skill ceiling. As many of you know, I am not much of a fan of the more traditional fighting games, but I had a lot of fun with FighterZ. While the story mode did drag on a bit in some places, I really enjoyed getting to play through an all new story. It is awesome that the game allows you to pick up and choose your own team of characters to level up, and not having to stick to playing the series mains all the time like Goku or Vegeta. The best part is all the cool little interactions that can occur between characters. There are so many different ones that it makes it worth trying out different team configurations just to see what interactions you may get. While I hate that you have to pay so much for the extra characters, the game actually does have a lot of content right out of the box. I just focused on the story mode in this video because that is my favourite aspect of the game, but there are more modes and a ton of other stuff to do. Even if you aren't into traditional fighters but are a fan of Dragon Ball, then I'd say that this game is worth it just for the story mode. It's pretty fun. Bye.